Good evening, everybody. This is 33 days since Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room and taken downstairs to the arms room, the basement room, and his life was taken from him. His body was then stolen off of Fort Bliss and trafficked, well, it was desecrated and trafficked to Juarez for disposal. Today is June 6, 2026. This is Richard's birthday month, you know. Just saying that every day is just, you know, that there are huge forces right now that are working very hard to get justice for Richard and for our family. Very hard. And so I'm going to just point out the system that was in place that targeted Richard, that targeted the people of El Paso and Juarez, targeted America, targeted President Trump, that made this happen. This is, if you've been following this story, you know that none of this is possible on a military base unless there is huge infiltration and collusion, scheming, orders, because you have to silence so many people. So there has to be a network, a cartel network, an organized crime network, to make something like this happen when you have a U.S. Army soldier, distinguished honor graduate, number one in basic training, number one in AIT, advanced individual training, wanted to be a CID agent. You know, when you have a young soldier like this that sees something and says something and then reports it, becomes a whistleblower, and then is targeted by his very own chain of command, by the intelligence community, breaches in security everywhere, with cartel ties everywhere, then you know that this is a huge problem, because it's not just limited to what they did to Richard, but that this criminal trafficking, be it the fentanyl, be it the cocaine, and how destructive that is, the meth, it also is the theft of property, the theft of weapons, the theft of ammunition, and then the violence. And of course, with all of that, it's the human trafficking, the human sexual trafficking, the child trafficking. And then it's the films, the worst type of films against children, taking those films, worst type of films against women and men, both, and then it gets into the organ harvesting and the baby harvesting and the black markets to sell the babies, to sell the organs, then the transfer of bodies, then you get into the funeral home fraud and the recycling of human flesh, um, and cashing in on dead bodies, through a very and then you have to have a security spy grid in order to retaliate against all the whistleblowers and anybody that doesn't like what you're doing, right? Because they want to keep the hellhole going, right? They want to keep it going. Um, so this is how this is, we every day, because it's such a grid and a network, and the El Paso cartel alliance conglomerate, because this has a lot to do with business, this has a lot to do with policies, contracts. It has a lot to do with gaining access to the State Department to get visas, right? Access to visas so they can get bank accounts so that they can money launder, access to driver's license, and so they can buy houses, they can buy property. Cesar Duarte had, I mean, way over a dozen, if not 2 dozen, huge properties, very valuable properties in the United States. And he's in jail for embezzlement. I mean, there's no and many other things, right? And of course, he was the maker of Maru Campos, right? And she wouldn't be governor if it wasn't for Cesar Duarte. So, it's this big network, and that's why we have been pretty patient and um, coming on every day, every night to tell you all about it, right? Tell you all about it because it absolutely affects your life. When you have fuel theft, right? There was so much fuel theft, billions of barrels of fuel, y'all, that they were stealing from Pemex, which is the Mexican public supply. It belongs to the people, right? It belongs to the people, and they were stealing it. And you see that Paul Foster, with his Western refining, was buying that stolen fuel from cartels, and he had to, pay out $42 million. I bet you that was a bargain with everything that he has stolen, and continued suspiciously, with his wife, the double agent, uh, the El Paso cartel queen pin, I guess you would call her the queen pin. If Mayo is called the kingpin, then Alejandra de la Vega Foster, the operative for the El Paso cartel and the double agent, working in the government on both sides of the border in Texas and in Chihuahua, and sitting um, on the committees for law enforcement and border security in Chihuahua, and having a huge role because of her position as development and economics development and all that in Chihuahua, to build this 1.27 um, grid, a surveillance grid, spy grid. She wants to know everything going on, right? And of course, that includes the tower. That people are saying, "Oh, you can't know anything is going on at Fort Bliss from that tower." Are you kidding me? That tower is 20 stories tall with AI, and it's just, a collection to evaluate all the data through the AI. That's what they're doing. The cameras are everywhere, and the cameras are in the drones, and the cameras are in the high altitude balloons. The cameras are everywhere. And this was to share not only the cameras in in Chihuahua, but the cameras that are in El Paso, right? This was a reciprocal surveillance sharing network that she facilitated. She facilitated the treasonous treaty between Governor Abbott and Maru Campos. And of course her protege, Lionel. Um, Chavira, interesting last name, Chavira, um, he absolutely was part of it. Was like they were running their own State Department, with making deals with foreign countries, which is so illegal. And the way they were doing it was so illegal, so treasonous to Mexico, to the Mexican Constitution, which she raised her hand, and swore allegiance to Mexico. And it was such a violation of the United States Constitution and the Texas Constitution, which she raised her hand and swore allegiance to that. So she's a liar, she's a fake, she's a fraudster. These are fraudsters. These are huge, huge fraudsters, and they have no character. They have um, no loyalties. And that's why you see in these groups, one act of treason after the other, and one act against humanity after the other. They know how to talk pretty, right? They know how to talk pretty, and they'll, get out there and try to look pretty and talk pretty and all of that. Even the men, right? They want to try to get out there and look like they care, or talk like they care, but they're liars, they're fraudsters, they're scammers, they're schemers, they're just fake. They're just fake. And that is what I'm going to be talking to you today about. And I think, and I wanted to have these videos ready to go for you because um, there were so many great videos out today, and the key word was fraudster. So it seems like, and this comes from the Kash Patel, from the director of the FBI, using the word fraudster. This comes from the Attorney General for the United States, Blanche. He used the word fraudster, and other, in their speeches today. They were using the word fraudster. This is the key word, because they just steal so much money. And now they have the 10 most wanted. I wanted to put that up. God bless you if you put it up. If you make a post and put it up, let me know and I'll share it, because the 10 most wanted fraudsters, I think, is so important. And yeah, I think tomorrow I'll try to do that. I wanted to do it today. It's just, there's so much that is happening that is so good behind the scenes. And I just want to let you know why we're putting so much effort into this really dirty negotiations. They're just brutal negotiations for the repatriation of our son's remains. And there has been questions about, did they find Richard's remains? And I wanted to address that, because they did find Richard's remains. They've had Richard's remains. They're the ones that trafficked it to for disposal. They've had Richard's remains. They were not about to chance anything. And we want our son's remains. Was there evidence of organ harvesting? Yes. We know that it's partial remains that are left, okay? We know that, and we want them. We want them. So do they have Richard's remains? all evidence indicates they have Richard's remains. Are they partial? Did they dismember him? Yes. We want what they have. And, that is just such a hard discussion for us. But we wanted to clarify that because we've had many people ask us lately, did they find Richard's remains? And because it just is not in a normal, God-fearing person to think that they would try to cash in on remains, that corpses to them are commodities. We think of, uh, uh, dust to dust, ash to ash. We're going to bury our loved ones. We're going to say goodbye. But they're not like this. They're piling up 400 bodies because to them, that's money. That's commodity. And that's why they have Richard's remains. They wanted to cash in on, they wanted to monetize these remains. And this was the system that they had. And Richard was really worth a lot of money because was a soldier and VA benefits. That is, a lot of money, 500,000. And then you can get, unidentified migrant money. You could get COVID money, biohazard money. Um, and that's why there has been so much cover up, so much tampering with his records, obfuscation when it comes to anything about our son, and why the players are such big players. These aren't little players. When it comes to Richard and the harassment, the threats, the targeting of Richard, the plotting against him to discredit him as a whistleblower. Who were the players? The players were Ray Velarde, right? Ray Velarde as counterintelligence, JAIME ESPARZA, Judge Medrano's family, who is Miguel Carzoli. These are, uh, the generals, asymmetric warfare group. These are, uh, you know, it comes from the highest levels that they wanted to um, interfere with Richard, discredit him, target him, silence him, and then cover it up. This is why Leilani Hart is not arrested yet. It's, once one domino falls, the dominoes are going to fall big time because Leilani Hart's arrest leads to the prime suspect, her son, Richard's platoon leader, Dallas Wayne Hart, which leads to the CID agent that lost his badge. He's no longer a CID agent, but he was then, and Tavita Nusa and Tavita Nusa's brother, who was a major in the mortuary operations. It would lead to that, and many other people, to, of course, um, James Hart, being IDES Pablo in the veterans death benefits for, that's who these people are. And it goes on and on and on to James Montoya, to Bill Hicks. Bill Hicks is the lawyer for Purchase Funeral Homes. Um, uh, Purchase Funeral Homes is directly connected to Plenitude Crematorium, is directly connected to Rosa Maria Purchase Ariano Caron, and who is, of course, her sons, Rafael and Jose Luis, uh, are connected to La Diabla and also Beto O'Rourke. And La Diabla is connected to Beto O'Rourke, and Beto O'Rourke is connected to Obama. These are really big players that wanted to silence Richard because Richard he reported on this pipeline on the Walmart mass shooting, which is really big because that was an operation, a very bloody operation. Uh, and of course, Beto O'Rourke was involved, and Veronica Escobar was involved. It was orchestrated, really bloody, uh, targeting certain individuals, not a racist targeting, even though there were, because you have Americans, you have Germans, you have Mexicans. 8 Mexicans, I think, died in that shooting. But this is like a cartel operation, absolutely a cartel operation. And you have individuals from the highest level that were infiltrated, that were participating, and that includes Fort Bliss military. They were part of the operation. And there's just no getting away from the evidence. We've been doing this for 6 years, and the cartel was infiltrated in our military, and our military was weaponized to against President Trump. That's what it was. And of course, against Richard and against other whistleblowers like Glennon Oakley Jr. And, so, and who would be in charge of this, right? It would be the DA's office would be looking into this. The Attorney General's office, Ken Paxton. Ken Paxton is has a lot of violations in this. If I was his opponent in the election, I would just hone right in to Richard's case and the Walmart mass shooting case, because what Ken Paxton failed to do is huge, huge. And, so it really shows um, how much power the El Paso cartel had over the politics in El Paso and in Texas. I mean, they facilitated the treasonous treaty. Alejandra de la Vega did, right? She facilitated the treasonous treaty. And now we have breaking news, and I wanted to put this up too, that that Jane, oh gosh, I have her name right here. Jane Nelson. Yeah, Jane Nelson, she's the Secretary of State. That was one of the hardest complaints we ever wrote, was about Jane Nelson. I don't know why. Um, but it was so hard to write that because she is treasonous, right? She's so treasonous because she's the one that hosted Maru Campos and facilitated with Alejandro de la Vega the eh, you know uh, how can I say this? Facilitated is not the right word. Coordinated with Maru Campos in um, the meetings that they had, um, because there was many meetings to get this treasonous treaty not enacted, but to put it into practice, right? To make it happen. And so um, her her um, enabling and allowing fake DAs that were not installed properly, and I'm talking about Bill Hicks and James Montoya, all of the things that Jane Nelson did, that she could have stopped, right, for our country, for Texas, and she didn't. She's a total traitor to our country, a total traitor, y'all. It's just when you write these letters and you have to formulate uh, their violations, it's just stabs you right in the heart. There's no pleasure in doing it at all. And we, really, we're very careful with Jaime Esparza, because he has this long history in El Paso, but he is a total traitor, y'all. Total traitor. And he targeted Richard. He targeted Richard with Ray Velarde, right? The billionaire kingpin, El Mayo Zampada's lawyer, targeted Richard, um, is absolutely responsible for this orchestrated Walmart mass shooting cover up, working with Sam Medrano. Sam Medrano. Okay, I want you to know that our receipts have Sam Medrano and David Guadarrama already decided to be the judges in the case before it even happened. Okay? Because Joe Spencer says it. Joe Spencer confesses that the two judges on the state case and the federal case, they knew that it would be both, right? That they would be Sam Medrano and David Guadarrama. They knew it. Okay, that means that they were tampering with the will. And who in the courthouse for the state case, who was over the wheel of the judge's selection? It was Sam Medrano's wife, Bernadette, okay, whose family is Miguel Carzoli. Okay, just to let you know, the El Paso police officer that targeted Richard. So you have the Melendez, Jesus Melendez, the canine cop that was family to the Johnsons in the Walmart case, targeting Richard with Miguel Carzoli, the family of Sam Medrano, okay, and Bernadette Medrano. Um, so we know that Joe Spencer said because he did not want to do it for nickels and dimes. He wanted an open checkbook. They were coordinating, they were scheming, they were organizing. This is an orchestrated Walmart mass shooting case, okay? And they were doing that before it even happened. And in the federal courthouse, you have Michael Maiella, the family of Patrick Crusius, and Patrick Crusius's father, being from Allen, Texas, in alliance with the guy in Brazil that was part of this whole pipeline with Jeffrey Epstein. Okay, with this whole pipeline of criminal trafficking, with Oprah there, it, and of course with Beto O'Rourke, so they all knew each other. This was not just oh, I just am mad and I'm going to get in my car and drive down to El Paso, uh, 11 hours or more than that. No, this and with zero money in my cup, okay? Because they said that Patrick Crusius, who's was worth, I think a million or whatever, it was worth nothing, right? Well, it had no money in his cup, so that the taxpayers, because they put that form for appointed counsel, they approved that within hours, y'all. Within hours. It was just, you've never seen anything like it in your life, right? To get taxpayer money, um, So it happened on a Saturday. They approved it at like 5:43 a.m. in the morning on a Sunday morning, and Sam Medrano was in the jail on that Monday, okay? Meeting with Patrick Crucius, sucking the taxpayer money. And he, and these are golf buddies, Sam Medrano and Joe Spencer and Jaime Esparza. They are just so dirty. And the pictures that I put up show, and Michael Maiella and his son, then, who still is in the FBI office there in El Paso. Don't ask me why, don't ask me why. There must be such infiltration and pushback. It must be, I don't know. That's my only explanation that I can give you why Michael Maiella is still working for the FBI there in El Paso. Um, he was caught. Uh, well, out and about. Um, but during the time of the Walmart mass shooting, when his father was in the federal courthouse for David Guadarrama, being the manager for David Guadarrama, um, his son is working directly for Jaime Esparza in the 34th Judicial District Attorney's Office, right? He's working there, getting paid in the DA's office while he's in the FBI office and while he is working cybersecurity for Walmart. Okay? He was working. So Patrick Crucius's brother-in-law was in the DA's office, in the FBI's office, and the Walmart cybersecurity office at the same time. It sounds like, Petkus and Frost, doesn't it? The lead FBI agents on the Walmart mass shooting, who, David Frost was at the same time active duty in the Army under headquarters 1AD, directly under Sean Cordona Bernabe, okay, who is absolutely treasonous. He needs to face court martial big time, okay, for what he did. So I just want to play the video of the video that we received from Hard Investigation of the Walmart mass shooting, because they're not really releasing what they should, right? But I want to play it because I think it's really important to be reminded about what really happened on that day and how they weaponized it, how they orchestrated it, how they weaponized it, and then how they sucked taxpayer money, millions and millions of dollars, because they delayed it. They never went to court. They never wanted to have a court case with it. I think that this plea deal stuff, I don't know. We want to see the evidence, right? We want to see the evidence. We want to hear the evidence, and they didn't do that, and they charged millions of dollars for the silence and the sealed documents and everything like that. So let's watch this. I think it's really very powerful.
There, right. Have you seen the guy? No, we haven't. We blood. It's a person lying there, right? Have you seen the guy? No, we haven't. A person lying there, right there, sir, in a puddle of blood. It's a person lying there, right? Have you seen the guy? No, we haven't. We just heard a bunch of shots everywhere.
My wife's in there. I'm showing Walmart.
Hey, get out of there! Get out of there!
The hell with Walmart. I'm showing them. No, I ain't going home. My wife's in there.
I know it's so, but
I don't care. I don't care what you say. Government's supposed to control.
You know, that is such a huge indication.
Who was it? Oh my God, that person look. Oh.
Okay, so I think this is a really important shot. Now, I blocked out the victim there. Okay, this I can tell you that that is Alexander Gerhard Hofmann wrote. He's missing half his head. It's a horrible scene. And it, it's so horrible that I blocked it. Okay. Now, what's important about this view here is look at down the aisles. Look at, there's no other victims. There's no, because this was an executed shot. He was absolutely targeted. Okay. It is, yeah, there's no doubt. There was not like a spray of bullets, right? This was a direct shot. Now, look at the rest of the store. The people are walking around. You're going to see this guy come down the aisle with a baby. But this other guy comes down just to take a picture of Alexander Gerhard Hofmann. The police had just walked in. You had law enforcement just walked in. They did not secure the scene, right? They did not secure the scene. The scene was not secured. It took over 2 days, y'all. 2 days, over 48 hours. And that has been confirmed to us that it took over 2 days to secure this crime scene. Let's watch some more.
He's missing half his head. Hijo, qué feo.
So he just took a picture.
Dios mío, chihuahua. Who's that? Oh, he's bleeding.
Nobody
he was bleeding.
stopped him to get his name, who that was.
Hey, sir, do not get out. Get out.
Sure.
Get out.
So I have that posted on Find Richard Halliday. You can find it pretty easy now. It hasn't been shared a lot, it hasn't been shared a lot. And, I wish it was, because then you would get a lot of people that have law enforcement experience and that to comment. And military experience to comment. And we have many other videos that, there were multiple shooters. That's clear, that even from the dispatches, it's clear that there were multiple shooters. Very clear by the whole timeline of Patrick Crucius that absolutely he was part of it. But, I was going to show you another video, but you can find it where, when they're arresting him because he tried to turn himself in 2 times. The second time worked. He was totally clean. His shoes were clean. His shirt was clean. Everything was clean. When you see the DPS video of him, he's totally clean. This is supposed to be a mass shooting of 23 dead, 22 injured. That's not what you see. We know through Juan Torres that the DPS that was in charge. So you had DPS that was the lead investigator, and then you had from the FBI, you had Todd Petkis and David Frost. They were the lead agents in the Walmart case. And, and I posted up today that all the evidence that we have indicates that they were on the payroll in Chihuahua, in Chihuahua. So, it clearly this is a cartel operation, a El Paso cartel alliance operation with the El Chapo, Sinaloa cartel, the CJNG cartel, with cartel infiltrated on Fort Bliss, La Linea, the Juarez cartel. Clearly, this is, a cartel operation that infiltrated into our politics with Beto O'Rourke, with Veronica Escobar. Remember how she was during this whole thing. It was, she obviously. And, anytime she clutches her pearls lately about anything, it's like, really, she's so unauthentic, because it's obvious that she's part of a very vile and vulgar cartel group, operative with that, at the border, with Beto O'Rourke. And they targeted President Trump. And this is, where we were the evidence was so clear about that. This is where, that's why I'm wearing the red hat, because the evidence shows that President Trump was a target of this, not involved in it. And unlike Greg Abbott, unlike Ted Cruz, unlike many other rhinos that were absolutely looking the other way or participated in it, engaged in it somehow to target President Trump. Okay, so this, for us, this is not about Republican or Democrat. This was, criminals and those that were the true victims. And I think we've done a pretty good job figuring that out after the last 6 years. And absolutely, this is where I'm amazed at how calm President Trump has withstood these kind of attacks, because this was not the only attack. I don't think there has been any other person that has been attacked like he has. And I can tell you this, our family in 6 years, we have been really attacked, but not like President Trump, okay? And of course, with Richard, that was the ultimate attack, right? And in that respect, we have been more so attacked than President Trump, because they killed our son to protect this. But, so, and what were they protecting? They were protecting the access to visas, the access to property. Because, you can be a criminal trafficker, you can be a cartel, but you need to feed off of the governments of Mexico and the United States. They absolutely embezzle. I don't know how much they've embezzled from Mexico. And the same with the United States. And With the bonds, I heard that one amphitheater, they're going to charge millions more in El Paso. Who's getting that money, right? Who's overcharging for that? Over budget, um, overdue, over budget, whatever. Uh, you know, who's doing that? And the people uh, get the bill. The people get the bill, and they get the raw end of the stick. Um, from these fraudsters, from the contracts. And they could only have the contracts and all the fraud if they get access to the State Department, to the visas, because the visas give them the bank accounts, give them the driver's license so that they can buy the property. And that's why this treasonous treaty is so treasonous, because it allowed the infiltration, because of the businesses that don't even have to worry about permits, because the cartel look the other way when it comes to their members and permits and licenses. And that's why hardworking people that want to have a small business or whatever have it so difficult, because they have to abide by the permits and the licenses and all of the costs that involves. So this is absolutely involves everybody, not just our son. And it involves another post I put up, uh, you know, national sovereignty. And I see President Scheinbaum talking about national sovereignty over and over again, because what she has learned through this treasonous treaty is that the attack was on the sovereignty of Mexico, and that the cartels and she knows this. She knows that the cartels were an alternate state, right? That the laws did not apply to them, that they could do their criminal trafficking with impunity. And what President Trump has done by removing so many with her administration, so many of these cartel leaders, including Maduro, including El Mencho, including the Gardner, including, um, um, many, many more, including Jeffrey Epstein, right? President Trump had Jeffrey Epstein locked up. By removing all of the precursors for the fentanyl now, with the Strait of Hormuz being so controlled, um, you know, it, she can now talk about the sovereignty of Mexico. And President Trump can now talk about the 250th anniversary of the United States. Get your flags out, celebrate. We are the United States. And there's a lot of work to be done, because the damage was so bad. And JAIME ESPARZA was part of that, absolutely part of that damage. Now, what we've learned lately about JAIME ESPARZA is that he has a son, and that son has a job in the 34th Judicial District Attorney's Office. I kid you not. I kid you not. And we've put in an open records for that. When we get that back, we will let you know how long he's been there. Uh, did he work on the Walmart case? What did he do? How long has he been in that district attorney's office? Did he, why didn't he report Montoya? Why didn't he report Bill Hicks? Because clearly everyone knows in that office that both of them are fake DAs, that they were not installed properly. And, you know, uh, uh, to have your son, Enrique Jaime Esparza, working in the DA's office, you know, uh, I want to know if he worked on the Walmart case. That's what I want to know. Uh, that's what I want to know. And I think everyone else should too, because because his aunt, right? His aunt was in the Walmart. Um, Jaime Esparza was allowed to continue to prosecute that case, and if that's what you can call it, I think it was just collecting taxpayer money. That's what I think it was. But he was allowed to do it for, a year and a half. He was allowed to collect all kinds of money from taxpayers, uh, you know, being a fraudster saying, oh, yes, I'm prosecuting the Walmart case. I'm busy. I'm busy. Hey, Sam Medrano, you ready for a tea time? You ready for a tea time? Joe Spencer, come on. We'll play this really fancy and have some lobster for our lunch and, whatever. I mean, these are major fraudsters. And he was allowed to be on that case for a year and a half or more. Um, and then he became the AUSA, right? Then he became the federal prosecutor on the case until he got screened. He got screened. There was a little bit more scrutiny there, and he got screened from the case. But what really is interesting is who got um, Joe uh, Joe Biden. I forget his name because he wasn't really, there. Who signed off that Jaime Esparza should be made a USA? Okay, come on. Um, so it is really obvious that this was a cartel orchestrated operation, bloody operation, and that it was not secured, and that the crime scene was tampered. And where were these people killed? Who brought them in? Because you see that what the newspaper said, what where these bodies were found and what happened. I mean, you just have to read Ernest Christopher Grant's take, and it's all baloney because you just don't see evidence. You don't see soda bottles on the ground there, um, next to Alexander Gerhard Hofmann. And you see Patrick Crucius walking into the Walmart uh, after Alexander Gerhard Hofmann's body was taken away, and they tried to clean the floor, but the blood stain was still there. And because of the video, the flow of the blood on the floor, was clearly in that picture and matched the blood stain on the floor when Patrick Crucius, before he even walked into the Walmart. So, uh, we broke that news, that we said, look, the crime scene was staged, the crime scene was tampered with, the Walmart mass shooting was orchestrated, and Richard, our son, was reporting that there were irregularities to it, and that it involved the Fort Bliss infiltrated cartels that were in his unit, um, and chain of command, that were part of this scheme to to divert people's attention from his other reports about the criminal trafficking, because they were auditing Fort Bliss. They were auditing the guns and the ammunition and all the equipment, and remember, drones are involved in all of this. They were auditing, and they President Trump was, wanting to shut down that border, and they and were auditing what Richard was reporting on, and they wanted to divert attention, and that's why. And of course, they wanted to win the election. So Beto O'Rourke played along with this, totally played along with Ernest Christopher Grant, and um, uh, you know, um, and then these infiltrated DPS, DEA, ATF, all of those 15 plus agencies that were there at the Task Force Find Richard Halliday meeting. um, you know, very, very compromised. And, um, the money must, I mean, you're talking about a lot of money for trafficking, a lot of money. And so they were paying off people. This whole network they've been developing for decades. They've been making these alliances for decades, and they were making their own little state. This was, their own little state with the Taurus Antilles or mini Pentagon. The border was not even existent for them, um, because they ruled both sides of that border, Chihuahua and Texas, and not all of Texas, but especially El Paso and into New Mexico because of White Sands Missile Range, and yeah, they were making themselves a a cartel, um, Department of State, and um, they were making their own laws. Yeah, so a shadow state. That's what they were making themselves. So thank you so much, everybody. There's so much news. Make sure that I covered everything because there was just so much today, and we are just going through all of these individuals that violated Richard's civil rights, violated his civil rights, and uh, because people just think that court cases and everything are about the murder, but there's just so many other things that happened to Richard and to us. So um, it's yeah, here they are. Oh wow, these are the pictures. Here they are. This is Ray Velarde, Almayos. This is David Guadarrama. This is Jaime Esparza, who worked, he hired Michael G. Maiella. He worked for him, so wow, this is the next. Now, this is interesting too, because this is the chart, and I don't know if you can see it, and I have another one, but this is uh, John Bash, because Jaime Esparza, this is the state case, it's a federal case. Um, and Ian Hanna took over for Jaime Esparza, um, because of the change of the election when Joe um, Biden got in. So this is really very interesting because Joe Spencer was Patrick Crusius's attorney for both the state and the federal cases, which is not normal. And this whole, always keeping the same little group, Jaime Esparza and this Ian Hanna, um, that's also curious. Gets curiouser and curiouser, and we should have yeah, just stay tuned. Stay tuned for all of that. But this is of course in the federal prosecutor, Steven Spitzer. He is friends with the Maiellas, and this is his wife, and saying, it's our secret. I won't tell that you are the courthouse manager and also the father-in-law to the Crucius family. Here is also a good picture. This is James Montoya, and right here is Jaime Esparza. This is when James Montoya was younger. At this time, he was James Bonneau. Okay, that was his name, James Bonneau. He wasn't Montoya. Okay, he changed his name to Montoya for the vote, right? For the Spanish vote, the Mexican vote. This is Jaime Esparza. They have a long history together, mentoring each other. So yeah, and his daughter is right there. That's his daughter. She's also a lawyer right now, along with his son, that is in the DA's, the 34th Judicial District Attorney's Office. Wowzer. So here is receipts for Michael G. Maiella, working in the DA's office. Now, this is Lorraine, right here, this little picture. You can go look on the website and enlarge it. But Lorraine, and this is Anthony Aoun. He is now a fake judge. Okay, he is at one of those fake judge in the El Paso Magistrate Court. And she's a Fiero, which just gosh, these connections are just like mind-boggling. Anyway, you could tell that it's a cartel operation. So this is also Michael Maiella. He deleted his LinkedIn that he's saying my current job now is security tech, cybersecurity tech for analyst for Walmart Global Tech. There, security for Walmart, and of course he's FBI. He's FBI. Of course, he's a brother-in-law of Patrick Crucius, which the whole lie is exposed there. And then he's in the DA's office. So these are, here's a closer picture. Here's JAIME Esparza. Here is James Bonneau. Yeah. They knew each other for a long time. This is a courthouse, like mock cases, mock cases. Yeah. Here is, this is a really good picture because, he says he knows just the judge for this case. And of course, you have Bernadette here, who is in charge of the will, and the will has Madonna. Yeah. So that's a little bit of AI trick there, but it's he got the he didn't initially get the case. She recused herself and he got it. But before it ever happened, he knew he was going to get the case. So they pull shenanigans. Absolutely. Here is the wedding certificate for the Maiellas and the Cruciuses, right there in black and white. They all knew, and of course, the fraudster here, they look so much alike. Fraudster here that was in Richard's 14380A. Okay, so just some interesting 5 million reward for Ismael Zapata Garcia El Mayo, and just to let you know that Ray Velarde is his lawyer, and that Anthony Acuna that shot the most decorated FBI agent, the Poison Ponds FBI agent that really took down a lot of the cartel years ago in Operation Poison Ponds, and Anthony Acuna, he came back because he wanted to finish up Poison Ponds 2.0, and he was shot in the head by Anthony Acuna, an El Paso ISD police officer. And there's a lot of weird stuff around that whole thing, and they won't release the video of it. And so it's just interesting that we have his picture with James Bonneau. They're school friends, they're school buddies. So there it is here. They're school buddies. Oops. Let's see, what did I do? Yeah, they're school buddies. Here it is. See, here's James Bonneau and Anthony Acuna. They know each other. So yeah, and these are just cases where they're just such botched cases and attacks to Cuellar here, and just proving that Montoya is a fake DA. He's not a DA. He is not installed properly, and every case is botched because of that. So that's important. This is the Rocha guy. Yeah. This is George Giorgetti. Another botched case, and I hope everyone goes and reads through all of these posts that we've put up over the years. Just scroll and share them because they're all connected, and it shows that this was absolutely organized crime, uh, and is the epicenter of it. Okay, El Paso is the epicenter of it. Yeah, there's Peter Melendez, not to be confused with Jesus Melendez. He also lost his life, and it's very, very fishy, very fishy. So that has not been forgotten in the legal world or the law enforcement world. And it is all tied to Richard's cases because it is all about what he was exposing, and people there's a lot going on behind the scenes, exposing it with Richard, and retaliation, the battle's going on still. The battle's still going on. So I put all those up today. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for your patience. And there is one more picture here I see. Yeah, this is why did James Montoya swear in 2 times? It's just weird. Okay, it's just weird. People say, "Oh, that's normal." I don't think it's normal. And the dates are weird. Everything it's the paperwork and everything that happened. And why is Judge Guadarrama swearing him in? He's a federal judge. Okay? A federal judge should not be swearing in a state prosecutor. Okay? That's just doesn't jive. And I don't think it's legal. I don't know. I don't think it's legal. So, but nothing these people do is really legal. Nothing he's doing is legal. Okay? Because he's a fake DA. It's a usurper. And that's really important for everyone to understand, because I have so many people that say, why don't they arrest? Why don't they? Well, we don't have a DA. We don't have a DA. It is compromised. So, yeah. But there's a lot happening behind the scenes, and things are changing, and it's all being addressed. So when that happens, I think people are going to be surprised at how quickly things will be cleaned up, because the key word here is treason. And years ago, when I called them out for treason, people called me crazy, and now you see clearly Maru's treason and Abbott's treason, and so many people that have committed treason in the military and that, and they're not calling me crazy anymore. They're like, oh my gosh, these people need to be arrested. We need to, where are the authorities to hold them accountable? That's the kind of atmosphere and environment we live in right now. It is the environment, the spirit of accountability, and that is very welcomed, very welcome. So thank you so much, everybody. The only thing we ask you to do is to really participate in the website, meaning share, comment, and follow. Share, comment, follow, everything that everybody else wants, because that is going to help our reach. And the reach is what they fear the most. We're very shadow banned. Um, but the reach will help us drive them to do the right thing. It's a nag. The Bible says, even the widow can get justice if she nags the unjust judge. Nags. Well, when a lot of people know what's going on, then that is very similar to the nagging of the widow. And so please and share some more, and like and comment. Thank you so much. God bless you. And I will be back tomorrow.